How is it that some people have success in network marketing and some don't? What's your opinion?
People expect results very quickly. We live in a microwave fast food society. And any business, certainly there are the Facebook stories where somebody blows something up and massive millions of dollars come in within with a year or two. That's not typical. But I think a lot of people want that instant pudding, fast food, microwavable popcorn sensation, right? And so I think that's part of it. I think there's that aspect of it. But I think the other aspect, which is probably actually more of it, is the people aren't consistent with the income producing behaviors. They do some of them, but they don't do it consistently enough that they really see the results that they really need to see. So I think often it's just a lack of consistency with income producing behaviors. They want the instant results. And so if you don't continually work, you're not going to see the results that you really want to.
All right, guys, I'm excited to do this episode with you today. I've got someone that I'm anxious to get to know a little bit more. He's been extremely successful in network marketing, and I can't wait for him to tell a little bit more of his story. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
This is going to be good. I'm glad you said yes. I have. I've known Jason for a number of years, and I think it was a couple years ago, I saw you on stage, and the way you delivered the information, the topic, you just did a really good job. You left an impression on me, and I just like your style. I like the way you do things. And so I know you'll be able to bring some value to this podcast. So first, though, let's kind of get a background of who Jason Kokenzie is. Give us a little bit of where you're from and, maybe the early years of Jason and how you developed as a kid. Where were you born, raised?
I was born and raised Colorado Springs, Colorado. And so that's where I'm from. My parents decided to move from Key West, Florida to Colorado 2 years before I was born. Don't ask me why.
Key West. Okay, time out. Okay, the podcast has just made a right turn. Key West. Okay. Yep. Were they military?
No. My family has a history of Key West. My grandfather was actually a mayor at one point in time in Key West.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Jason, one of my favorite places on earth is Key West, Florida.
Yeah.
Because I love the Keys. And when you're in Key West, it's so laid back. I know it has all this, everybody kind of has an idea of the parties that go on there. And they do. They have some parties. Yeah. However, there's a lot more to that area than just that. The food is great. That is really wild that your parents were from there. So any particular reason they moved to Colorado?
You know what? So there's that party lifestyle that you're talking about. So, they grew up around that, and they just didn't want to have their kids constantly infiltrated with the party lifestyle. Just to be truthful. And so they up and decided to go to Colorado. And that's really kind of the story for no apparent reason. Like there was no reason for Colorado. It could have been Alabama, but they decided Colorado. So there you go.
Let's see how far we can get away from the ocean.
That's it. Which was like the worst thing, because I'm a big deep sea fisher. I love seafood. It's like the worst thing on earth to do. So whatever.
Okay. Well, I know you're over in Georgia now. We'll have to get you down here and do some fishing. So you're from Colorado. You went to high school there. Like, what did school look like for you there?
Yeah, went all the way up through high school. Graduated high school there, and then went to college actually in Pensacola, Florida, and then moved back to Colorado. And been there almost my entire life outside of really the last 6 years. We actually, if I step back 7.5 years ago, we have a family of 4, which I know there's a family of 6 total, but 4 kids. We decided to travel full time. So we bought a Class A RV and traveled the whole country for almost the whole entire year and ended up coming to Atlanta. I know that's part of the conversation piece, but so I've only lived out of Colorado for virtually the last 7 years of my life outside of my college years. So,
okay. What did you do when you got out of college? You were in Colorado, but what were you doing for income?
So I went back to Colorado. I've been an entrepreneur ever since I was a little kid. Anything I could flip for $5, I would. So that's been my world. And so I actually, while I was still in college, learned how to go online, actually have one of the very first original eBay accounts, like one of the original first.
Okay.
And so I got kind of intrigued in the online world. And then while I was in college, I actually started learning how to build websites. And so that, and then just I got out of college, I actually went into ministry. And then in that same point in time, I also developed a landscaping company. So I had multiple things I was juggling with ultimately.
Yeah,
So,
I just saw this thing. This is totally out of left field, but I was late to the whole, YouTube craze as far as a business, right?
yeah.
But I just saw, of course, I'm sure you know this guy named Mr. Beast, right?
Yeah.
Oh my
Same.
gosh, this guy, like, he draws more attention than the Super Bowl. He draws more eyeballs than the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I know you said eBay and YouTube, different thing, but the whole online space is absolutely insane as we know it. So tell me, you were flipping all kind of things. Tell me the craziest side business you ever had.
You know what? Probably flipping things from Craigslist, honestly.
Okay.
So I had a brief stint, actually, I totally forgot to mention this. I had a brief stint where I lived in New Mexico for 4 years.
Okay.
In out, and I was doing online business, flipping things. And so I saw this ad on Craigslist, and it said, everything at the house is free. Come get it. And I'm like thinking, this has got to be some type of scam, right?
Yeah.
And they had a phone number at the bottom, and people, don't be offended what I'm going to say next, but it was a 619 area code. I just happen to know that's a California area code.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh, this has got to be a scam. It's from California. Like, there's no way this is good, right? So what ended up happening is the lady's dad just passed away, and she just like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Oh.
And she's like, you can come over and take whatever you want. And so I came over there, and I'm telling you, the guy had tons of stuff. And I pulled out tools. I pulled out brand new Xboxes and stuff still in the wrapping. I literally took a truck off the lot with title in hand, that type of stuff. And so It was insane. It was insane. So that was probably the craziest thing that ever happened to me we're talking literally thousands and thousands of dollars. I literally just got to load up in my trailer. And it was
like, it's like the first episode of Storage Wars, right? Like
pretty much. So that was probably the craziest thing I ever did that made absolute bank. I don't think that's as possible today to do as it was back then, but it certainly was an amazing thing back then for sure. But that was, again, the beginning stages of Craigslist, when Craigslist was barely even known.
Yeah. Yeah. Were your parents entrepreneurial? Where do you think you got that from?
So my dad's a real estate agent. So, not 100% in the entrepreneur space, but he's been a real estate agent since I was a little kid. So just seeing him have that freedom, being at literally every single one of my sports games, growing up, that always kind of attracted me. Obviously, being able to spend time with my own kids whenever's going on. So not necessarily an entrepreneur per se. I'm definitely way more of an entrepreneur than my parents are, but that's probably where I got it from.
Yeah. Yeah. Your mom, did she just support the businesses, or did she do something herself?
So she did for a little bit. She was a CNA for a little bit. But outside of that was just a little stint of what she did. Most of the time she just kind of was a homemaker.
Yeah. You have brothers or sisters?
I have a brother who lives in Brazil, and a sister actually who moved here to Atlanta a few years after we moved here. But sister was a CNA as well. And brother was in the ministry. He was actually a missionary in Brazil. So not really a whole lot of entrepreneurs in my background, or obviously even in my immediate family.
Yeah. Well, then who do you think, what's been one of your biggest influencers as an entrepreneur? Is there someone out there that you kind of, who's been some of the biggest influences in your life and business?
I'm going to go with the obvious one. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay. I think that was probably one of the ones that made the biggest influence in my life to open up a whole new world of entrepreneurship.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Same for me, Jason. Same for me. Like that. My mother and my grandparents, her dad and her mother, were very entrepreneuristic. I watched all through that. And I knew I wanted to work for myself, but that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was just like, it just hit me like a 2x4. Just an incredible, incredible book.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Life changer. Truly, truly a life changer.
Yeah. And so when you read that, what were you doing for income when you first read that? Do you remember?
So yeah, I was website development. I own my own company, website development. I also was a subcontractor at a tax attorney's office. I wore so many hats in the entrepreneurship world. I'm just telling you right now. And then I also became a certified herbalist too.
Oh.
And so there was like a bunch of things going on there that I was doing. And, the entrepreneur world of website development made passive income, but it really wasn't, because like I was getting monthly subscriptions, but the people were not, I mean, it wasn't like a set it and forget it. It was like, oh, we expect you to do all this work for us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So what, in a sense, the ideology of passive income was there, but in reality, with website development company, it was not there at all. So when I read that book, it was one of those things I was like, okay, I'm doing something wrong. Like this is not right. I got to figure this out. And so it really opened up to my eyes that, first of all, passive income is real, number one. And number two, you don't have to be some genius or someone who gets inherited this money to have passive income. It's something that an average person, which I was very, if you will, average, just like everybody else, that I felt like I truly can do this. I can make something happen. And so that book opened my eyes up to like just the whole idea, like passive income's real and I can do it too.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. That had such an impact on you and so many others. So, what is it that eventually led you to network marketing? Tell me how that happened. Like, what did the enrollment process look like? Were you an easy enrollment? Were you a tough one? What did that look like?
So let's go way back to when I first got introduced to it. So I got introduced to it right out of college. My wife, she's a couple years older than I am. She had a contract as a school teacher. And so I didn't really want to get in the career field of what I was doing until her contract had ended. And so it was just basically, I needed to get income. And so I passed out 50 different resumes at that point in time. The job market was terrible. And everyone was like, hey, thanks for applying for us, but you're overqualified. I'm like, dude, I just want a job. Like,
what year was that? Do you remember what year this was?
2002.
2002.
Yeah. So I just wanted a job. And so I had a good friend of mine who actually was a very high earner in network marketing in a communications company. And so we jumped in and he introduced me to network marketing, had no clue, never heard of it. But that passive, word stuck out to me. And so it was an easy sell for me because as an entrepreneur, at least what I knew at that time, it was an easy sell for me. The problem was that company, just to do some various things that were actually going on the Supreme Court with communications at that point in time back in Colorado, the company went bankrupt. Not the company's fault. This was like a whole nother scenario. And so that was about 5 to 6 months after I joined that company. And so I actually went out and looked for another network marketing company.
Was that Excel? Was that Excel?
It was. That's exactly right. Yeah. So I got introduced to it through Excel, got bankrupt. Then I went and actually looked for a company. I actually went out and looked for a network, which is like, bizarre thing for somebody who.
How long were you with Excel? Like, how long were you with them? You must have been there with them long enough to know this is for real. So
yeah. I mean, 5-6 months.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it wasn't a long enough time. But again, I saw my friend who had major success in it. Yeah. And so, and obviously enough other people to see them, and rub shoulders with them. But I went out and looked for it. And then the negative part of this is that the company I joined, and still a company that's in existence today, my upline, the one who enrolled me, actually stole my first clients and enrolled them for themselves.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And so there's that negative aspect of things, right? And so we can have a big conversation. Like, not all MLM is a good company. Not all network marketing companies are a good company. But
rule number 1, do not steal your downline's contacts.
Rule number 1. So you know what? I got bitter towards it. I'm like, if this is what network marketing is really about, I'm out. And I totally disqualified network marketing as an opportunity. Yeah. And it wasn't until, fast forward at that point in time, 10, 11 years later, my wife had been diagnosed with all kinds of different health issues since she was a senior in high school. Basically felt like she had the flu 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wow. Just never felt good. So we spent literally tens of thousands of dollars trying to help her feel better.
Yeah.
And then we got introduced to the company that I'm still with today. And I didn't know it was a network marketing company. And part of that goes to my certified herbalist story. I got pitched products like all the time, like from all venues. Yes, network marketing companies, but all. So when I first saw, I just thought it was another product. And it wasn't really approached to me in a good way. And it wasn't until after we started seeing really amazing results with my wife's health that somebody actually introduced me and said, hey, by the way, this is network marketing. And I got ticked off. Like, I got so ticked off. But there was that part of me that was like, okay, all right. Like,
you were ticked off because you didn't know it was network marketing, or because you still had such like, you had a bad taste in your mouth from network marketing?
It was more of a bad. So like, I was instantaneously happy, but instantaneously angry at the same time.
Okay.
Because I was like, I'm never going to get suckered, and I put that in quotes, suckered into network marketing again. And then I found out it was network marketing. I was so happy because my wife was doing so well, but at the back of my mind, that whole passive income word came back up.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, dude, if this is really happening with her, and this business is legit as I think, because all I saw was just one video. That's all I had seen.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I was like, if that video is even 25% true.
Yeah.
And this is network marketing. This seems like a huge opportunity. And so we decided to jump in. It really wasn't a whole lot of twisting my arm at that point in time. Once I heard about it. So
that's interesting. I'm just trying to unpack that in my mind. So there are people out there then that have done network marketing before, that know it's real. Like you had done it, you knew it was real. However, there were things that had happened that had left a bad taste in your mouth. And I guess I think I know the answer to this. If it wasn't for your wife's results, there's probably no way in the world, right? You looked at this as an opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's absolutely right. I mean, there's no reason for me to. I'm a healthy guy, so a health company really and ultimately reality doesn't really strike to me as like something I want to get behind per se. But her results certainly changed my mind for sure.
Yeah. So a lesson there is there are millions of people that have done network marketing before, maybe haven't had success, that can have wild success like you and your wife. You and your wife have had tremendous success. Do you have any idea how many millions of dollars of revenue your teams have sold through the years?
I'm assuming it's going to be 40 plus mil, something like
crazy.
that.
It's wild. Yeah. So you got someone that has sold over 40, $50 million in product that was kind of like, I don't think I'm doing network marketing again. Right. But the right scenario, the right situation. So what had driven you to be an herbalist if that wasn't?
Yeah. That a lot. Actually, again, going back to my wife, we spent literally 6+ figures trying to figure out her health out of our own pocket. And so when I was introduced to somebody out of Colorado, I started actually developing his websites for his company.
Okay.
And after a while, he said, "You really like this stuff?" I said, "Well, I'm kind of have to like this stuff because I always want to try to figure out how to help my wife better." Yeah. And so I'm intrigued by the natural product world, the nutraceutical world. And so, a lot of people, they don't really have the full understanding of what nutraceuticals actually can do for the body. And so when I started working with them, he saw that I really enjoyed it. So he's like, "Hey, I would love to bring you on and have you get your certification as an herbalist and see if you would want to partner up with me with this company and become a co-owner of the company." And so I said, well, you know what? If I can find something in this process that's also going to help my wife, be in business, but also help my wife, I'm game. And if he's going to pay for it, I'm really game. So that's kind of how that whole thing went. And actually, that only happened about 6 to 7 months before the network marketing company that I'm currently in was introduced to me. And so as soon as I saw the actual potential of what network marketing could do, when a good company comes to play, I basically said to my certification and jumped full in and really have never turned back from that.
Yeah. Tony Robbins, there's an interview out there with him around network marketing. And he said something, I'm paraphrasing, but he said that in some cases, you can't stick a product on a shelf. Like the story has to be told. And when you match a unique story with a good, fair compensation plan, you got an opportunity for an amazing business.
100%. Yeah. And that's it. And that's, I think the phrase that we use often in network marketing is facts tell and stories sell. And
Yeah.
such a powerful thing.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated on people's journeys into network marketing because, like, for your wife, there's the age old deal. Do you talk product? Do you talk business? Obviously, in your situation with your wife's health, the approach was the right approach. It got your attention. It was focused on fixing that health problem. I think more importantly, do you believe if you're going to be successful in network marketing, well, let me just ask you the question. How is it that some people have success in network marketing and some don't? What's your opinion?
Obviously there's lots of reasons, but I'm going to say the main reason I think is people. I'll split up in two answers. People expect results very quickly. We live in a microwave fast food society, and any business, certainly there are the Facebook stories where somebody blows something up and massive millions of dollars come in within a year or two. That's not typical. But I think a lot of people want that instant pudding, fast food, microwavable popcorn sensation, right? And so I think that's part of it. I think there's that aspect of it. But I think the other aspect, which is probably actually more of it, is the people aren't consistent with the income producing behaviors. They do some of them, but they don't do it consistently enough that they really see the results that they really need to see. So I think often it's just a lack of consistency with income producing behaviors. They want the instant results. And so if you don't continually work, you're not going to see the results that you really want to.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I heard from stage once, people want crock pot results with microwave efforts.
Yeah. 100%.
that is so good. Like, the crock pot, it takes hours for it to cook, and people are wanting it to taste that good immediately. What are your thoughts on what I've observed is the more successful networkers understand that their future customers or future business partners are probably months, if not sometimes years down the road. Like, it takes so many touches. Most people are thinking you call them, you offer it to them, and it's yes or no, and that's a life sentence. What have you found in your journey in network marketing?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's those people who will jump in right away, and that does happen. But I mean, like, my very first person in the company I'm currently with, the very first person I talked to said no to me. But again, we'll go along with some network phraseology we often use. It's not no, it's just not right now, right? Like, and 4.5 years later, that same person signed up. And so, and I can tell you story after story after story. I just remember that specific one because that was literally my first ask that I ever asked in network marketing in the current company. And so,
was it the person, like, was it your best friend? Was it someone you just knew was going to do good? Like, why were they your first?
No, I mean, he was a good friend. Like, he wasn't my best friend. I just knew that there was some networking skills that they had. That I felt like this would be something. I knew that his wife also had some health problems, and since I'm in a health company, there was multiple different avenues, and we had talks. We had talk shop with finances and business, so I knew that network marketing would give answers for multiple of his issues, and so I made those connections point with them, and it just wasn't the time for him, and that's fine. Like, there's other people who it is the right time for them, and so we just keep on and doing the things that we're doing. So, but probably in my time of personal people that I've talked to, I could say probably at least 20 stories where the person told me no, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years later, they finally told me yes. I mean, that's happened numerous times.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that's such a key point for people to understand that are trying to, there's a lot of people that get in network marketing and they get some customers, whether it's a product-based company or a service-based company, they get some customers, but it's building the team, right? And the recruiting and the long-term play in this, where people become short-sighted and never really stick around long enough for those years for people to come back and say, yes, it's time for me to enroll with you. So what do you think it is, like, for that friend that took 4.5 years? Was it because they were waiting to see how you did, or did something change in their life?
Yes, things change. And I think that's often what it is. It's like circumstances change for people. And, like for us, obviously, same thing with me. Like I was adamantly against network marketing, but things changed. And so it was something that allowed me to take a different look into it and obviously jumped into it. So things change typically when people's lives, and it might be 3 months from now that a person's life, or it might be 3 years. We just never know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why the timing piece is so important. Same thing for us. If my cousin would have called us 2 years sooner, or even a year earlier, we got involved in network marketing in 2009 on the backside of the real estate crash. And we had a lot of real estate. If she'd have called me in 2007 and offered me a business opportunity, I love her. I probably would have said, listen, you want an opportunity, move to Florida, let me teach you how to buy and sell real estate, because we're killing it. But she didn't call me in 2007. She called me in 2009 when real estate was falling flat on its face. Same person. Like I'm the same person. It's just my circumstances changed. And so I think that's a really key point you made, that it's timing, right? And you need to be in the right place at the right time when people are ready to listen. So what do you think has been, what's been your biggest obstacle? What's been your biggest obstacle while you were getting things up and going? Like when you first jumped into your company and got things rolling, what was rattling through your head that was messing with you, or did you have any problems?
I mean, we accelerated to network marketing fairly quickly. And obviously with not really much experience, because the previous two companies I was, over a decade before, we didn't have any success in them. So we didn't really learn a whole lot from those experiences to say we accelerated real quick because of those lessons. But we did accelerate fairly quickly. I mean, we made around $90,000 in the first year and a half.
Wow.
So I'm like, I would say that's pretty legit for most people. But I will say that the trials that were along the way, for me, and I think there's a lot of people, the imposter syndrome. Like, am I really getting paid for this? Like, am I supposed to be getting paid for this? Like, I'm doing the work, but like, am I really worth this much? Am I really worth this paycheck that I'm getting from this company? And so I think just the mindset that like, am I really worth it to be able to go forward with it was one of the things that I struggled with. I didn't really believe it was real, even though I saw it being real. And so I think it slowed me down, because like, I didn't want to build all this and not really be real. But I think ultimately at some point in time, I don't know exactly when, but at some point in time that went away. But that would be what it was, as imposter. Am I really having the success that I am? And can I really prove it? Can I really teach? Can I really educate people on how I made it there? And obviously the time has, shown that I have, but that's kind of the struggle that I had at the beginning.
Were you, when things were rolling in the beginning with that kind of fast growth, was there ever a period of time where you're like, okay, I know the money's coming in and the money's real, but I don't know if this is real? Like, you ever think like, is this going to last? Like, did you have questions of
sustainability? Was definitely a conversation, right? If I build all this, is this going to go away in a year and a half? And part of that was because the very first company, the communications company that I was in, like I saw it go bankrupt, and it really wasn't that company's fault. They couldn't really do anything. It was really a Supreme Court issue with a major Quest Communications that had a monopoly, and there was just problems that were going on. But so I wasn't like, you just have thoughts in the back of your mind, like, what if, right? What if all this time, energy, and effort, and obviously I forsook all the things that I was doing in the past to fully focus on the company. And I think that's just one of those things that, it really, it's a constant bother in a person's mind, that if I really go and put all my blood, sweat, and tears, is this really going to last? And that was certainly a conversation I had with both myself and my wife. Are we really putting effort in for this to fail in 3 years? But it works.
What's been some of the biggest, now that you've got the team and you've got the income, this is the full-time gig, like you've got the dream, right? You're doing a business on your terms. What's been some of the biggest obstacles you've been dealing with in the last, I don't know, 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah. So I think ultimately, I mean, I hate even saying this stupid word, but COVID really changed the world, right? And I think there's just a lot of people has changed their mind on a lot of things, and those are just obstacles. They're not a death sentence. And I think people need to understand, like, obstacles are not death sentences. Often when people have obstacles, it's really just trying to figure out, how can this network marketing thing work for me? So it's not like a death sentence, it's an obstacle. And so I think the biggest transition that I've had to make since COVID in building a business that is in network marketing is the fact that I think there's a lot of people out there that got so used to the pandemic of getting on Zoom calls all the time and doing everything through the internet. And so, for one, I think that's brought people's attention span like very short. It was already short in the beginning, but now it's like really short. So I think that's been a challenge. And I think a lot of people who are jumping into network marketing want to do all things social media. But we're even seeing a shift from that here recently. Like, social media was a big thing for a while, but we're actually seeing a shift back more towards traditional network marketing, not completely away from social media. And what I mean by that is, I think there's a good, happy balance. I think you should know social media, but you should also know how to do traditional network marketing, because there's skills that are going to help both sides of that game. So I think just working with the people that we're bringing to the business to help them understand, become an expert in both sides. Don't just focus fully on social media. You're going to miss things if you do. Don't become just a super expert in traditional network marketing, because there are going to be things that you miss if you don't understand the social media. So I think that's one of the bigger obstacles I think that I've had to work through with my team, and obviously new people coming in.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that response, because I think if anybody was in network marketing pre-2020, their business is different today than it was, after 2020. I think it's just something that was a global, it was a global like test to see, how people would react to things, business wise, relationship wise, communities. I thought it was funny through that period of time after 2020, when things started to open up again, meetings started to open up, and people were not getting like to their opportunity meetings. They'd be very low turnouts, and people were saying like, no one wants to do live meetings anymore. And I was like, really? Because we just had the Super Bowl and it was sold out. I saw 70,000 people in the stadium. Like, Kenny Chesney just did a concert and it was 80,000 people. I think people still will get out of their house. It just has to be for the right reason.
Yeah, the value's not there, and they're not going to come. So that's it. I mean, you nailed it.
And I think that has changed. I think it used to be where people might be a little bit more at ease at getting into live meetings. I think they are a little bit more reluctant. I think you do have to. I think I was told recently, you probably know this from the marketing world, online space. It used to be 5 to 7 touches before someone would make a decision. I've heard recently it's upward to 15 to 20 touches before someone is ready to make a decision. And they're saying it's because of social media. They'll see the same ad 15 times before they actually click the ad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're definitely seeing a lot more of that, because it used to be like, after the 5th time, 80% of people would jump into something, and definitely not as accurate as it used to be. And it probably is a COVID pandemic thing for sure.
Yeah. Outside of, you guys have done fantastic commissions. You've made a lot of money in network marketing. Outside of commissions, what's been the biggest benefit, or what's been the biggest benefit outside of commissions of being in network marketing?
Time freedom. I mean, I don't know how to explain that. I got, married with 4 kids. My oldest is graduating from high school this coming week. So my 2 oldest kids have seen me work outside the home. My 2 youngest kids don't even have a clue. Like, they don't even know what that means. Like, if dad's not here in the morning, like, what is he doing? Like, so it's one of those things that they see me with them at breakfast, at lunch. We homeschool, so I'm outside, playing basketball with them at, 1:00 in the afternoon. I'm at the store with them. We're going to restaurants with them at, midday. And, we have that question all the time. Oh, are your kids out of school today? Is it a school holiday? No, like, this is what we do, so I just have to say that time flexibility, and even with all the time that in the blessings of what this business had. And we're talking years now that I've been able to be what I like to say, a stay-at-home dad with a stay-at-home wife. That's how I kind of phrase that. I still pinch myself every morning with that, because it just seems so unreal to me to be able to wake up every day, not have to set an alarm if I don't want to, not have to go in rush hour. I live in Atlanta, for crying out loud, not have to go in rush hour traffic. To me, that's just one of the biggest blessings possible that in my opinion, far exceeds compensation.
Yeah.
What an amazing gift, honestly.
Yeah. That's awesome. So let's transition the conversation just a little bit to the business side of network marketing. It is a business. There's money being made. One of our goals here with the Freedom Factory is to help people make the right decisions with their commission checks, so that they can have true financial freedom, where they're not dependent on any one income source. I've seen a lot of people in network marketing make a lot of money, and something happens, they're in a worse financial situation than before they started because they weren't smart with their money. Yeah. And so have there been some steps you guys have taken to kind of start looking at, securing the financial future? What are some of the things you guys have done?
Yeah, I am a huge fan of diversifying income. I love multiple streams of income. It says the average millionaire has 7 sources of income. I think that's such a wise thing, having them in different industries. So I'm going to take a line out of Robert Kiyosaki's book, and he says, saving is for losers.
Yeah.
You can't save your way to wealth, and I've learned that more as time has gone on. And I'm not saying don't invest in things like 401ks, Roth IRAs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I think they have their place, but at the end of the day, I don't think those are the place. And so that's just another stream. That's just another thing. But a lot of the people in our world, they've been taught since they were little kids, go invest in your 401k or whatever. And, when you're 75 years old, you'll be able to retire. And I was like, no, dude, I don't want to do that. Like, that's the last thing I want to do. So I do invest in those. Like, I have money in those, and I like crypto. I like the idea of crypto, and I've invested good money in crypto. But the other thing I've also learned, and I'll explain some other investments as well. My CPA a long time ago told me it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And you can make good money, but if you're losing 50% of it towards taxes, like, who freaking cares at that point, right? So it's important to have that. So, I always tell people, hire a CPA, man. You got to understand that. You got to understand the different type of business entities, S corps, LLCs, trusts, Delaware LLCs, Wyoming. I mean, there's a whole gamut of things that we don't learn in college. And frankly, we don't learn it from even our CPA. Like, my CPA hasn't taught me all these things. I've had to go study these things. In fact, I don't know if I have the book right here. I have a big book somewhere. I use it so often. I don't see it here right here, but I got a big book, and the book's like this thick, and it's how to pay zero taxes. Like, I'm all about that, and like, taxes are such a pain. And even with the good CPA, they're still a pain. So I think it's important for people. One of the best ways you're going to maximize your income is learning how your income's getting sucked out. And so you got to learn that. And so there's other investment vehicles that allows us to offset that. We got to learn what tax advantages that the government puts us in there, like the 1031 exchange in real estate, like the Section 179, like the Augusta rule. There's a lot, like paying your children. Like, this year, 2024, I think it's $14,300 I can pay my children tax-free. Like, those are legit things that people need to understand. You got a business, don't lose your money. Yeah. And so, there's just different conversations with that. But
how much money were you guys making when I'm going to assume, but I know the answer. Yeah. You started a corporation. You've got a corporation for your network marketing income or some entity. When did you make that decision? How much money were you guys making before you said, like, okay, we better start a corporation?
I wish I would have started earlier, to be honest with you. But it was 6 figures. It was like right around the $100,000 mark.
Okay. But
I wish I would have done it earlier.
Yeah.
And that was just, I mean, there's lots of reasons why I didn't, but I wish I would have, honestly. I
Yeah.
wish
Well,
I
I'm
would probably
thinking,
started.
we weren't too far. I remember we were making about 6,000 a month when we went ahead and formed ours, which isn't far from a six-figure income. $8,300 is a six-figure income a month.
Right.
So, so you formed a corporation, and what has been, do you follow a certain type investment formula? Like, let's say if $10,000 comes into the Kokenzie home for the month, over and above living expenses, you get $10,000 over and above living expenses. Do you have a formula for how you invest that or what you do with it?
Not necessarily. And the reason why I said that necessarily because I'm a studier. I like to go research things. I want to make sure that, because right now may not be the time I want to throw money into the stock market. Might want to be something. So if I get a lump sum, I will probably look at something in the line of real estate investing, not realtors. There's a huge difference for those people who are listening. Real estate investing, buying property, whether that's a multifamily or a single family or something along that. I'll look at something like that, short-term rentals, vacation, Airbnbs, that type of stuff, or business acquisition, buying businesses that already are in existence, not startups, but like businesses that have been around for 5+ 10 years, so those are the things that we're looking for, the bigger chunks of change. If it's just a couple $1,000 here and there, I might throw that into crypto or to stocks or something like that. But I don't have an exact formula other than like, if it's a bigger lump sum, I'm going to throw it to bigger investment vehicles that I know the return is going to be substantially better than like a stocks or something like that would be.
Do you have a favorite vehicle that you like investment? So is your favorite stocks? Is it real estate? What's your favorite?
So stocks, that type of stocks, cryptos are definitely not my favorite. Like, again, I like having multiple sources, and it's a source, right? I like crypto because there's this huge upside potential that's probably there. Okay. And I use the word probably. It's probably there. So like, I don't mind throwing some money towards that. But if I look at my other sources, business acquisition and real estate investing are my top. But for different reasons. Like, real estate investing has some really awesome opportunities in tax advantages, like this Section 1031, like the depreciation and all that kind of stuff. Like, those are specific tax advantages that are only with real estate. And so there's some benefits there. So I love real estate investing, but I also like business acquisition as well. And so like buying businesses that have been in existence, you buy a business, cash flow is already there. And so why not? Right. So I like those vehicles. If you can buy a business that obviously is proven, you don't just go buy any business that's been in existence. But if it's proven, you have huge opportunity with those too.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you, if you had to say, it's interesting, the cryptocurrency conversation, it's a hot topic. I mean, it's big these days. I think people, certain things happen through 2020 with banking. And of course, we've seen in other countries how bank accounts have been seized, and, people are taking more and more interest of their capital. If you had to guess what a percentage of your net worth is in cryptocurrency, would you have any, like, what do you think the percentage of your net worth is in cryptocurrency?
10 to 15%.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. And so, and that's on the aggressive side. That means you love it. That means you really like it, because most people are scared of it. You've obviously educated yourself and to the point where you're not scared of it. You're making investments you're comfortable with. But I think some people today, what I see, we talked about this microwave mentality. They're so strapped for money. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They're so desperate for a win that all of their money is going into stuff like that, like all of it, because they're just like gambling, like, please let this be the one. Have you seen that too sometimes?
Fortunately for me, I mean, I haven't bought into that personally, because I mean, like, if you're going to invest in stocks or cryptos, like, at the end of the day, like, a lot of those, unless you know how to play the short game and the options game, which most people shouldn't be doing that. Like, the majority of people should not be doing that. Yeah, sure. I mean, people really love the penny stock idea, and you can really kind of throw that in the penny crypto idea when you're finding these cryptos that are 0.0003 cents a share. Dude, that's attractive. If those get to 1 cent, like, you made bank.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody's going to argue with that. But I think you're right. I mean, it's again going back with that microwave mentality. Like if you want to breathe normally without stressing month to month, you got to understand the difference between cash flow and investing. And if I'm investing in something, that means I'm looking more towards the end of something, not necessarily right now. So if I can find the magic bullet, which is both cash flow and investing, I'm good. That's why I like business. Network marketing is one of those huge opportunities with that because I get cash flow now. Plus, I also look at the future and have that opportunity for generational wealth, right? So cryptos, stocks, unless you're just investing an exorbitant amount of money in dividends, which you really have to invest an exorbitant amount of money into dividends, stock market's a long game in most people's worlds, and it's not going to help you breathe monthly. If you're on your last $10, don't do that. Go figure out another way to flip something, make money other ways.
Go find a garage on Craigslist.
100%. I still approve that message because I still think flipping things today for the average Joe can help them get out of tight spots for sure.
Well, the problem for most people simply, Jason, is they just don't make enough money to ever get out of the stranglehold of providing for a family. It's so hard to provide for people that they're looking for these big hits. And that's what I love about network marketing. That's what I love about network marketing is it actually gives an average person like you and me. I didn't go to college. Like you went beyond me in formal education. My teachers told me I was going to be nothing. My teachers told me you're going to work. I had a teacher tell me I was going to work in fast food the rest of my life. And for anybody that works in fast food out there, thank you. But I think you know what I mean. And so I totally get that, for some people, they're just trying to find that lucky hit. And the reality is they just simply need to make more money. Like the easiest solution for most people's financial position is they got to make more money because it takes money. Like you saying, it's the long game that people just, it kills them. They don't want to wait for the stock to improve, at 10% a year. That's too slow for them. Or the house to go up in value at 10% a year. It's too slow for them. When in reality, that's amazing growth. You just need to go make more money.
Right.
And that's the beauty of network marketing. So let's circle back just the last couple questions, network marketing wise. Why do you think some people, I asked you this to some degree, make it or don't make it, but what do you think contributes to most people not making it today in network marketing? You talked about consistency. But if you could say like there's this one thing that you see over and over, is it just they just don't do the work? What is it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of I think when you start talking to people about network marketing and they ask, oh, is this one of those network marketing things? And you kind of hear this frustration in their voice. I've learned to ask the question, hey, it sounds like there's a story there. What's the story? Is it really network marketing that you're upset about, or what's the real scenario? And typically there is a story, and I find that the story often really, really comes down of unrealistic expectations that the people had, and the lack of effort that they put on themselves. And so, and I think it's a combination of those. I think it's both of them. Most often, the unrealistic expectations and just the lack of effort on their part that really slows them down. And so, the way I like to give the information is like everybody enters network marketing at a different point in life. You and I might be the exact same age, and we might enter in network marketing at the exact same time, but somebody's going to be more successful sooner than the other person. And it's not because that person is necessarily better. It's just because they've had other life experiences that have got them to that point that have allowed them to accelerate. And so what do? Well, what we often say is comparison is the thief of joy, right? So if I come in at the same time that Brandon comes in and Brandon's wildly successful, I can't compare myself to Brandon. Like it's not a good place to be. And so that comparison factor often hurts people. And so there's going to be people who are behind you that outpace you. And it gets frustrating sometimes, like when people who enroll after me are now passing me. But you know what? I can say this. I've done the same thing to other people too. So it's just one of those things. You can't get frustrated with other people. You can't compare yourself to other people. That's why that consistency piece is such an important part, because my first runner that came in my network marketing business was 4.5 years later. Like, I had people who were doing work, but like actually like going out there and running where I didn't have to pat them on the back and say, good job, good job. Like, it took me 4.5 years to find that person. That was, by the way, after we had already made it in the top 1% of the company.
Yeah.
Right. So that was when my first runner came. And so it was one of those things that I think is just important for people to understand. Like, you just be consistent. Don't compare. If you are consistently working with those income producing behaviors, I feel like I keep on having to focus on those income producing behaviors, because designing a logo for your company is not an income producing behavior. Okay. Right. If I'm focusing those income producing behaviors, I'm consistent with it. I don't compare. I'm going to be successful in network marketing. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you being here. It's nice getting to know you a little bit more. Your insight was really great, and I'm sure you helped some people today with your knowledge. So thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. Enjoyed it.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good.